10 lessons from James that will transform your daily walk with God. The Journey Bible Stories. There is a letter in the New Testament that doesn't waste time with theory. It doesn't spend pages building elaborate theological arguments before getting to the point. It simply tells you directly what real faith looks like when it actually shows up in your daily life. That letter is the book of James, believed to have been written by the half-brother of Jesus himself, a man who grew up in the same household, who didn't believe in his brother's mission at first, and who eventually became one of the leading voices in the early church in Jerusalem. Today we're walking through 10 lessons hidden inside this short but powerful letter. Lessons that don't ask you to simply believe the right things, but to actually live differently because of what you believe. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Trials are meant to produce something in you, not just happen to you. James opens with a statement that surprises most first-time readers. Consider it pure joy, he writes, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. This is not an instruction to pretend difficulty feels good. It's an instruction to see difficulty differently, not as a random interruption to your life, but as a process with a purpose. The way pressure produces something valuable in a substance that couldn't be produced any other way. James isn't asking you to enjoy the trial itself. He's asking you to trust what the trial is capable of producing in you. If you let it finish its work, instead of escaping it early, this reframing matters because most people measure a season by how it feels while they're in it. James is asking you to also measure it by what it's building: patience, endurance, a kind of maturity that comfort alone could never produce. Lesson 2. Wisdom is available to anyone who asks, without judgment. If any of you lacks wisdom, James writes, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. This verse removes an assumption many people carry quietly, that asking God for wisdom is something reserved for people who already have things somewhat figured out, or that repeatedly asking the same question might eventually annoy God. James specifically says the opposite. God gives generously without finding fault, meaning the asking itself is never treated as a burden or an embarrassment. This lesson invites a specific kind of honesty in prayer, not pretending to already understand a situation, but actually admitting confusion and asking directly for clarity, trusting that the request will be met generously rather than with judgment. Lesson 3. Doubt undermines the very thing you're asking for. James continues with a warning attached to that same promise of wisdom. But when you ask, he writes, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. They are double-minded and unstable in all they do. This is a difficult verse, easy to misread as condemnation for anyone who has ever struggled with doubt. But read carefully. James isn't condemning doubt as an emotion. He's describing a specific instability, being pulled in two directions at once, asking God for something while simultaneously undermining the request, with an unwillingness to actually trust the answer when it comes. The lesson here isn't that doubt disqualifies you permanently. It's a warning about what happens when doubt becomes the default posture rather than something worked through honestly. Instability, indecision, being tossed in every direction rather than anchored anywhere at all. Lesson 4. Temptation comes from your own desires, not from God. James is careful to clarify something many people get wrong. When tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. He writes, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. This is an important clarification because it removes a subtle excuse many people reach for, the idea that difficult circumstances or temptations are somehow being sent by God as a trap. James insists on a different origin point entirely. Temptation begins internally, in desire, not externally from God. This lesson requires a level of personal responsibility many people resist. It's more comfortable to locate the source of temptation somewhere outside yourself. James insists on pointing back to the desire itself as the actual starting point, which means the solution also starts there, not in blaming external circumstances. Lesson 5. Faith without action isn't really faith at all. Perhaps the most famous and most challenging section of the entire letter comes here. What good is it, James asks, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? James goes further, stating plainly that faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. This has been debated theologically for centuries, but the practical lesson is direct regardless of the debate. Genuine faith doesn't remain theoretical. It moves. It notices real need in front of it and responds, rather than offering only words while withholding actual help. This lesson confronts a specific kind of self-deception. Believing your faith is intact because you hold the right beliefs internally, while never allowing those beliefs to actually change how you treat the people around you. Lesson 6. The tongue has enormous power, far beyond its size. James spends significant attention on a single, small part of the body. The tongue is a small part of the body, he writes, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. He continues, no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. This section is startlingly honest about how much damage careless speech can cause. Gossip, cruelty, careless words spoken in anger, all capable of consequences far larger than the brief moment it takes to speak them. James doesn't offer an easy technique for controlling this. He's honest that the tongue is notoriously difficult to tame, which itself is a kind of lesson. This isn't a minor area of discipline to overlook. It requires ongoing, deliberate attention, precisely because it's so easy to underestimate. Lesson 7. True wisdom looks different from what the world calls wisdom. James draws a sharp contrast between two kinds of wisdom. Who is wise and understanding among you? He asks. Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. He then describes what heavenly wisdom actually looks like: pure, peace loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial, and sincere. This lesson matters because the world often defines wisdom in terms of cleverness, strategic advantage, or the ability to win arguments and outmaneuver others. James redefines it almost entirely around humility, peace, and mercy, a completely different measure of what it actually means to be wise. Lesson 8. Conflict usually comes from unchecked desire, not from circumstances. What causes fights and quarrels among you? James asks directly. Don't they come from your desires, that battle within you? You desire but do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. This is a blunt diagnosis. Most people locate the source of conflict externally: the other person's behavior, unfair circumstances, misunderstanding. James points the lesson inward instead, toward unmet desire as the actual engine behind most conflict. This doesn't excuse the other party in any given conflict, but it does insist that self-examination has to be part of the process, rather than only examining what everyone else did wrong. Lesson 9. Humble yourself and you will be lifted up. Submit yourselves then to God, James writes. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. This lesson offers a specific order of operations that runs against natural instinct. Most people, feeling low or overlooked, try to lift themselves up through self-promotion, proving their worth, insisting on recognition. James describes the opposite sequence: humility first, and elevation as something that follows, given rather than grabbed. Lesson 10. Do not boast about tomorrow, because you do not actually control it. Near the end of the letter, James turns to a specific kind of arrogance many people don't even notice in themselves. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, James suggests a different posture entirely. If it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. This isn't a suggestion to stop planning or making decisions. It's a correction to the quiet assumption underneath so much planning, that tomorrow is guaranteed, that time is something owed to you rather than something given. This final lesson ties back to where the letter began: trials, uncertainty, the reality that life doesn't move according to your own guaranteed schedule. And James's answer, from the opening verse to the closing one, remains consistent: not control, not certainty, a daily, humble dependence on God, worked out in how you actually live, not just in what you claim to believe. Put these 10 lessons together, and the book of James stops looking like a short, easily overlooked letter tucked near the end of the New Testament, and starts looking like something far more urgent: a direct, practical challenge to stop separating what you believe from how you actually live, one ordinary day at a time. If this letter challenged something in how you're living out your own faith, that's exactly why this channel exists: to bring the practical truth of Scripture into your everyday life. Subscribe, and let's keep uncovering the truth together.